My name is Steve Onsman. I'm the pastor of Calvary United Church of Christ in Reading, Pennsylvania. I'm glad you're watching. This is the Wednesday Word. Hope you'll share this if you find it helpful, or send me a question if you have one you want answered. So that'd be wonderful. Um, Here's the question. It's anonymous. Um, why do we call Sunday Sabbath? Good question. There are a few Christian denominations that believe that the Sabbath is Saturday, and they are correct. Here's what the Bible says about it. The Sabbath was made holy in Genesis. God created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day, God rested, therefore, making the Sabbath holy. That's the foundational reasoning for the existence of the Sabbath. The Sabbath was and is supposed to be a day of rest, no work. Can't even cook. You have to cook double on the day before and then have it on the Sabbath. It can be a day of recreation and rest, recreation of yourself through rest or doing things you find pleasurable. It doesn't mean you have to sit around all day and twiddle your thumbs. It means you stop. Um, if you can think about this in terms of like exercise, right? It's a similar idea. If you exercise every day, you will eventually wear yourself out. But so that's why you work out and then you let your muscles rest because exercise wears down your muscle. It breaks them down. Rest builds them up. And that's the cycle, right? That keeps them strong. Too much rest, too much of not exercising, um, then you atrophy, right? So you have to have that balance. And that's what the Sabbath is supposed to be, a day to balance out the rest of the week. The Sabbath has been used by a lot of Christians to be restrictive. Think about Ocean Grove, New Jersey, for example. It was a Methodist campground, and there's a couple of others as well in the country. They used to put chains across the door so people couldn't drive in on Sunday. Um, there's a Hasidic community. I'm not sure if they still do it, but at least where I grew up, on the Sabbath, they would do the same thing, put a chain again across the only entrance into the community. It was called New Square. Blue laws were created to limit the purchase of luxury and they would call sin items like alcohol. Pennsylvania, in fact, when I first moved here 26 years ago, still had these blue laws, and they still do about you can't buy a car, for example, in Pennsylvania on a Sunday. 2002, they changed it and gradually the limited sale of alcohol on Sundays, and then now there's really no limits. Um, but those are based on Sabbath laws, so they're restrictive. They force them. So let's get to Jesus. He was resurrected, Matthew 28 tells us, on the day after the Sabbath, on the first day of the week, which is Roman name for it is Sunday. His followers continued to practice their faith. They considered themselves to be Jewish, and so they continued to practice their faith. The Lord's Day in Acts was the day that they got together to learn from the apostles, to eat their meal together. It grew, of course, over time, and the apostle Paul responds to this because they were getting together, and of course, people with money were able, and leisure, the owners were able to be there all day. So they would eat all day and would get drunk. And Paul says, don't you have your own homes to do that in? So he told them to eat at home and then come together for the bread and the wine, which of course is Holy Communion for us. That's how that developed. But Jesus, as usual, when asked about the Sabbath or when dealing with it, takes it to another level. So he's confronted and called a Sabbath breaker. He picked grain, he healed people on the Sabbath. And Jesus said this in Mark 2. The Sabbath was made for humans, not humans for the Sabbath. I think this means that kind of what I said earlier, that the Sabbath is a tool to be used to glorify God and to find rest in the midst of a hard working life. And the Sabbath rules, of course, were that it included not just you and your family, but your slaves and your animals and aliens in your midst weren't allowed to work on the Sabbath. Um, so while we might think of it, it is often used in restrictive ways. The real purpose of the Sabbath is to heal our souls and our bodies. Um, It's to restrict strain and effort, but not play and free movement. It is actually a way to stop worrying about time. That's according to myjewishlearning.com. It's a great website for these kinds of things. Um, Continuing with Jesus, in Matthew 12, his disciples are accused of breaking the law by doing good deeds on the Sabbath. And Jesus asks again, he's not putting up with this nonsense, because for Jesus, laws were fine as long as they were beneficial. And so he said, it's if your sheep fell into a pit on the Sabbath, you'd pull the sheep out, right? I mean, you wouldn't want the sheep to sit there and lay there and die. The sheep has value. And so he says, how much more valuable is a human being? So of course you would heal somebody on the Sabbath. Of course you would take care of someone if they had a need. You would make a meal for them if you had to do that. To again, to save life or to assist in life. That's what matters. So the Sabbath is not a prescribed time for most Christians. We try to take Sabbath time. I know clergy who take it during the week because we're busy working on Saturdays and Sundays. So Sabbath is there to make our life better, not to control us or others. Well, that's all I have for today. What do you think? You can send me an email. It's my last name, Onsman at Comcast.net. Message me on Facebook. Give a call to the church here at Calvary in Reading. I'm always looking for questions to grapple with. Send them to me, and I will do one of them on a Wednesday Word. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands. Keep your distance. Get your shots, and wear your masks. And I will see you soon. Have a wonderful day.